Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. XRP has just taken the #3 spot, displacing Tether. We're up over 21% on the 7-day and over 11% on the 24-hour. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $3.74 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's up 2.2. That's nice to see. And so is this. Bitcoin, 117,000 plus. Ethereum just about to hit $3,000 at 2,900 plus. XRP is taking the #3 spot, flipping Tether again. We are at $2.72. We're up 11.7 in the 24, and we're up 21.5 on the 7-day. This is a great day, ladies and gentlemen. We're ranging between 243 and 273 right now. Listen, I know we're all excited, and it's great to see the market turning around, but keep your head on a swivel, ladies and gentlemen. Really keep your head on a swivel, because if you're looking for a way to protect your assets and things like this, and what is like this is a article that breaks down SIM swap attacks that happen on your phone. And you know what? We've all worked so hard, and this is a great day that we're looking at price, but we cannot afford to let our guard down. And I tell you, one of the best places that you can go is iTrustCapital, and not only open up an IRA and get institutional grade custody, you can also get institutional custody through the new premium custody account, which is in fact a closed loop system, meaning you put your crypto in, but you only come out in cash. So this is really designed for the long-term holder that just wants to grab an asset and hold on to it in their bag until they're ready to do an exit of some sort. But this closed loop system of coming out in cash means that, God forbid, if you were SIM swap attacked, the worst thing that could happen is that they could cash your crypto out and send it to your checking account, because it can only go to your checking account, eliminating the step on a let's say a regular exchange where somebody gets into your account through a SIM swap. And the next thing you know, they've sent your crypto to their crypto exchange, and now you're not getting it back, right? So this is what they've done to really provide that extra layer of security for the long-term holders out here that just want to put their assets somewhere safe for a duration of time. I really love this. I think it's a great place, and I think you guys should check it out too. iTrustCapital.com/XRP Army and use the code at the bottom of the page. Now, let's look at this really quickly here. Today at 2:30, we're going to have the XRP Army Field General, John Deaton, is going live, ladies and gentlemen, with crypto law and the Linqto class action, why and what it means. And you know what? If you are a Linqto customer, you need to be involved in this live stream when it happens today at 2:30. I just hopped a plane with to meet DAI and John Deaton in Boston to discuss what we will be doing to help protect every investor, large and small, on the platform that is a customer at Linqto. I know we haven't been able to talk about it for a long time, but the reality is now we're at a place with the bankruptcy filing where we can take action. And that's exactly what we're doing with John Deaton. And I'm encouraging you, all of you, to do the same, just like we did for the SEC versus Ripple case in ETHgate and getting the 75,000 people in the class action there. We're going to do the same thing again. So it's time to mount up, ladies and gentlemen. We got to put the fight together to protect every investor on the platform for whatever is the best outcome for all of us. Let's look at this right here as a call for Bitcoin, 118,000. We're not far away right now.
His risk return on profile of the asset classes, if you look at everything out there, everything's kind of clustered into that one area: gold, S&P, REITs, etc. Look where Bitcoin is. This, of course, gets into a frame of shifting thinking, and that is what you have to pay attention to, especially as we see companies coming in and saying, hey, we're going to start really playing the angle of acquiring more Bitcoin into our treasuries.
So talking about how you're seeing larger companies, corporations, and institutions want to actually get some exposure to Bitcoin and certainly in the future other assets as well. We know XRP has already had some corporates come out and put a treasury together too. So it's exciting to see that happening in that integration of digital assets. But I actually had asked here Grok, and I was like, wait a minute, nothing has outperformed XRP. And XRP, whatever metric you want to put on it, is somewhere between, you know, 400 and 500% gains in this cycle currently. And I had asked Grok, I was like, hey, what out here has beat us? You know, am I wrong here? And he's like, no, major currencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum and other alts have not performed while to the level that XRP has. So XRP percentage wise is outperforming the entire crypto space right now. So USA crypto broker rule abolished. That's right. The one that hindered non-custodial platforms, it's gone, ladies and gentlemen. The U.S. Treasury and IRS have officially repealed the regulation that non-custodial services to collect customer data, which made it impossible for miners, right? And it was done intentionally to stall the market, I believe. Nonetheless, look at this. Another great move here. Jonathan Gould, former Bitfury legal chief, an OCC veteran, returns to lead the agency, the OCC. Now, this is a shift and a signal in U.S. banking oversight on emerging tech, meaning we've got somebody who understands this stuff and won't operate out of fear. That is a huge step forward. And at the same time, I know you're going to love this one. The SEC has opened the floodgates for crypto ETFs, marking a new era for the industry, and it is. And they've slashed the approval time, application time from like 40 days or whatever it was, down to 75 days. Things are going to start moving very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. And then this is a nice reminder here from Kenny. Kenny lays it down. Just a reminder, look at all these spot XRP ETF waiting to be approved here. And we know we've had it rumored that BlackRock's waiting to put theirs in. So that puts us around 20 or so, almost 20. And all of those being launched is going to draw an enormous amount of XRP off of the exchanges. And meanwhile, coming back to all of the embrace of the innovation and the OCC and the SEC making the moves they're making, what do we see? Federal Reserve highlights stable coins and payments innovation. Yes, they do. And by the way, while you're watching this, I want you to, while you're listening to Federal Reserve Governor Waller, he's talking not just about stable coins, but the Fed's role is to make sure that there is a competitive payment system in place too that's efficient. Well, remember Pat Thielen of Ripple speaking on the future of crypto from Ripple because they're on FedNow, Faster Payments Council. That's why.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pat Thielen. I'm the Vice President of Global Account Management at Ripple. We truly believe that there is an Internet of value coming, much like the Internet provided with communications and email in the 90s and through the beginning of the millennium. Today, the payment system is advancing. And unlike a lot of the other crypto players in Ripple's space, we truly believe that the revolution is going to occur from within. So the ecosystem that the U.S. Faster Payments Council has put together will be those players that will make sure we advance the industry. The working groups that are coming out, it's the cross-border, the QR, the directory model. These are really opportunities to take that user experience, the interoperability that has been designed in the other initiatives, and really apply it to real-world problems. Many countries have leapfrogged the U.S. in real-time payments, so this is a real opportunity for us to leverage a body like this. The playing field is set, and you can either sit on the sidelines or suit up with U.S. Faster Payments Council and change the game.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, U.S. Faster Payments Council. Now, let's get back to Governor Waller and what he says. And listen to what he says not only about stablecoins, but a payment system. And we just saw that Ripple is on and a part of that new payment system.
I'm glad you went right there to payments. It's an area where you've done decades of research. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what the priorities are for the Fed in terms of this payment space. And then say, every meeting I go to, the word of the day is stablecoins. Can you say a little bit about how you're seeing stablecoins, what you see as the use cases, and what the risks are that we should be thinking about?
Yeah. So the Federal Reserve, since its founding, one of the things that the Fed was charged with by Congress in 1913 was to provide kind of a safe, efficient payment system at the time. I mean, it was at a time when You know, you wrote a check in San Francisco and somebody on a horse rode it across the West and took it to another horse and eventually got to the East Coast. I mean, that's the kind of, seriously, that was what Congress realized. We have to have a national bank or central bank to make the nation's payment system more efficient and faster. And that has been part of our job for over a century. And that's why I take this job extremely seriously in terms of being the payment oversight governor. So we have our typical big payment currency, obviously one of the big payment instruments that we oversee. We have ACH, Fed ACH, which is the standard batch processing way we do payments, payroll, and things like that.
Listen.
We have FedWire, which is typically the large transactions up to $1 billion that have to be made. And then we recently have FedNow, which is our real-time payment system that we launched about a little over a year ago. And we're trying to develop that now to have it more, again, a faster, cheaper payment system for the U.S. taxpayer. So that's kind of what we do. That's what I oversee. It's been a long part of our history. But there's nothing that is evolving faster and being more disruptive than the payments industry. For years, this was like the dullest thing you could ever want to be part of, right? Somebody with a green visor and a pad and paper and doing some debit and entries. No, this is the coolest tech job on the planet right now. So there's so much innovation happening, both in terms of how payments are getting done, who's doing the payments, what are the objects that people are using to make payments. That's why the job I have now is super fascinating. I go around, talk to payments conferences, payments people, find out where things are going. And that brings us, I guess, to stablecoins, which, you know, is probably going to pass here soon. Now
let's talk about that. Let me jump in here because, you know, and what are we seeing? The SEC versus Ripple case has that last little piece that we need to finish, right? But at the same time, we've been reporting on the channel here how they're onboarding and minting even more and more real USD on the institutional side, which seems like they're lining the horses in the gate. That's what it feels like. Now, maybe we're wrong, but I tell you what, we've been pretty damn right and spot on so far over all these years. They haven't shook us off their trail just yet. And I don't think they're going to now. You know, this is super exciting to me because, again, the tie here to Ripple and FedNow and the new payment system is really, really huge. And then that brings us to another question. Central banks are seeking more efficient ways to facilitate international payments, and Ripple is emerging as a key player in these discussions because they've been having these discussions for years.
And I think that the regulators are hearing us, and I think that they've been extraordinarily receptive. I think, you know, from a U.S. standpoint, the U.S., I think, is trying to provide some more.
1 second. Here's where we want it right here. Listen to this clip right here.
Our technology solutions and being in the fintech space, and we're helping with the blockchain narrative and explaining, you know, how that works to policymakers. So that's something that, you know, we're actively engaged in with 50 governments around the world.
Well, what was that part? We're actively engaged with 50 governments around the world.
And we're helping with the blockchain narrative and explaining, you know, how that works to policymakers. So that's something that, you know, we're actively engaged in with 50 governments around the world.
And that's over 5 years ago that they were doing that. So we know the demand's there because they're working with the Federal Reserve. So the demand's there on a central bank level like we've never seen. Next question. Could Ripple become an XRP Treasury company in 12 months? Well, this is Hunter Horsley here from Bitwise, and basically suggesting, could Ripple become like the MicroStrategy because they have the rest of the escrow? And could they become like an XRP Treasury? And I say, yeah, but let's step it up. How about they could become like, you know, the U.S. Treasury, right? Or the Federal Reserve. Isn't that what we're talking about here? If it's really fixing and solving the problem that it's set out to do? And if over 50 governments around the world, and maybe even more today, are involved here, we're talking about tokenizing the rest of the world's value and putting it into the ledger, the XRP ledger, or on the XRP ledger, to where it can either tap into and make a market with the XRP ledger or just reside on the XRP ledger. Either way, that's what we're talking about here. And when we're talking about that level of liquidity of the world, even if it's a large percentage and not all of it, you're talking about a serious, serious situation where there's the world's money, the world's value is being represented on these new protocols and payment rails. How much is XRP worth in that regard? So, when I think about him saying, possibly Ripple XRP Treasury talks, and about how he basically saying, sparked a conversation about Ripple potentially becoming XRP Treasury company over the next 12 months, specifically saying he wonders whether people will refer to Ripple as an XRP Treasury firm by next year. And the reality is I think Ripple is a bank, and that's why they're applying for a bank license. And I do believe that they are a lender of last resort, and they will not disseminate 100% of the assets out into the market. I do believe that the term escrow is truly defined in its actual sense, that you're holding assets or funds for a third party. Ripple can't be that third party. So the escrow is in fact designed in part by its own definition of what escrow means, to at least in part to hold some of those assets on behalf of others, which we see that are rolling out now. They're all starting to roll out and show where they're going here. So super exciting. I absolutely see Ripple as the Fed 2.0 or digital arm of the U.S. Treasury, if you will. People think, wow, that's a little crazy. Okay, well then I'm a little crazy then. But up until now, all my crazy shit's starting to pan out. So that leaves us here. The infamous trader, famous trader. He's infamous in the XRP community because, he's taking a lot of heat. But nonetheless, a very, very seasoned trader, Peter Brandt. When the chart says what the chart says, he gives it up. And here he gives it up. Everything I've come to know about charts informs me that the next trend in this mystery market will be up, up, up. The market is just pausing in the yellow box. What a time to be alive, I say. And this is where we are right now, ladies and gentlemen. And when we break through that peak and get well above that, I think when we close above that, as most of them say, well, it's a whole new story to be written from here. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.